The title of today's video just sounds like complete nightmare fuel, and the thumbnail doesn't really do it any favours. Because, you'd be correct, Pixar almost made the movie Cars where the characters had arms. Of sorts. Hello! Welcome to Brainspill, the laziest show on the internet. My name is Tank, and today we are talking about the movie Cars. If they had arms. Many movie studios, as you might imagine, tend to have a formula when it comes to making their films, particularly when it comes to storytelling. There might be a formula or philosophy that is followed to ensure that the movie is enjoyable, structured, and has a rewarding conclusion at the end. Some rules that Pixar adopts asks their writers to discount the first, second, third, fourth, or even fifth ideas they come up with, as if you can get over something obvious, you can find something truly surprising. Something else that is really interesting with the design process at Pixar is every time they have an idea, they are encouraged to write it down on paper or to just simply draw it, because at the end of the day, even if they have it on paper and they don't use it straight away, it might be helpful for someone to come back and have a look at it to maybe draw some inspiration for something in the future. This is particularly interesting because we can then look back at some of our favourite movies and see the design process of how they got from the very start to the finished product, and some of the many ideas along the way that didn't quite make the cutting floor. This is truly a great way to see this creative journey that the writers and designers have to bring these ideas to life, and to see all the tried and tested ideas along the way. So, now we know the way that Pixar looks to create their movies, we have to look at Cars. You know, that movie with the really creepy anthropomorphic cars with their mouths and the giant eyes, and yeah, just thinking about it, it's a little bit of a strange movie. The writers from an early stage had a few things they had to decide on before they could even consider the story. And that was what the cars are going to look like. How would they work? What are the rules for this world? You need some very bare bone philosophies here to make sure that anybody working on the project knows the rules of the world, how it operates and what the cars do or look like. This could include very small things such as the positioning of facial features or how cars interact with the environment around them. This is all expanded on in a Pixar feature where writer Rob Gibbs explained how the creative process came to be when deciding what to do on this very particular set of issues that the team ran into. So, here's the breakdown. In the early stages, the writers knew that they could drive, but did not really know how. They really didn't know how this all came together. So the writers made the story, they wrote the script, and then they let the designers sort everything else afterwards to make sure the story could be told in their own way. What a truly great way to operate. Just write the story anyway and make the designers suffer to try and figure it all out afterwards. Class act there, guys. As you might imagine with most movies, the characters on screen will have the normal body parts such as a body, head, arms, legs, standing on 2 feet, all those sorts of things which you would think is just kinda taken for granted. However, because we are making a movie about cars, the rules don't really apply here, so they had to make their own rules. As an example, if a character was due to pick an object off the floor, then they would bend over and pick it up. Seems simple, right? But for a character in Cars, how is that possible? How do they physically do it? Do they use a part on the car to do it? Who knows? That's not something that was ever really discussed when the story was being made. They just made it up as they went along. So, how did they achieve this problem, and how did they give the cars the freedom and mobility they needed whilst still being a car? You know that you have some truly creative people working for you if they can figure out this problem. One very simple solution that was proposed much earlier on was that the cars were able to use the antennae on the car effectively like an arm to go and pick stuff up, which was bounded around for a while until it was scrapped due to, quote, it being quite creepy looking. So yes, the idea of an independently moving antenna on the cars was quickly put to one side. So another part in the script was when the main character, Lightning McQueen, tells Sally that Radiator Springs is back on the map, to which the script then says that Lightning McQueen presents a map to Sally. Problem was, however, how on earth does he present a map to her? So the team naturally got to work. They decided that the car doors could be used as arms, however they thought that the brain of the car was inside the car, so the doors shouldn't open. Then they decided to use the junk in the trunk. Originally the map was going to be in the trunk of the car, which would be rolled off and presented to Sally, but then they had another idea where he simply backs up to Sally, opens the trunk and the map unfolds, presenting Radiator Springs to her. I mean, this looks even more suspect than the first idea. I think this was also probably one which they thought was not a good idea and scrapped that one very quickly as well. Thanks for that. Pixar, you dodged an absolute bullet with that one. So, at this point the designers had clearly got the simple ideas out of the way, the things you'd probably expect. So they decided to go a little bit more down the rabbit hole, think of some new and interesting ways that the map could be presented without the car physically having arms, shall we say. The designers then started coming up with other concept ideas, such as having a third car come and present the map on their antenna, or perhaps that the map is drawn into the ground using their wheels and tyre marks to denote features on the map, and even another where Lightning McQueen closes his eyes and opens them back up to reveal an image of the map. Look, if they decided to go with this, I think that's just going to raise more questions than answers. I think honestly these guys might be overcomplicating the whole thing a little bit, but the ideas didn't stop there. A few other more strange ideas that were bounded around was Lightning McQueen getting on his two back wheels to reveal the map on the underside of his car. There was one where he stuck his tongue out and the map was on his tongue, and then there was another where he was able to make a projection out of his eyes to show the globe and then show the map of Radiator Springs. Again, raises more questions than answers. So yeah, a lot of these ideas were pretty wacky things. I think that if any of these ideas were actually used, it would have highlighted the pure ridiculousness of the situation. But at the same time, I think it was very clear that the team were basically just having a bit of fun with all this. Yes, they did need a viable solution in the end, but why not try something completely absurd and see what crazy ideas you can come up with? Because at the end of the day, you're making a film about anthropomorphic cars, so the ridiculousness of the whole situation kinda speaks for itself. How crazy can you make this thing? Well, the team decided at this point that it was pretty much no holds barred, so they just went straight on with the most ridiculous ideas they could think of. They would have some pretty suspect ideas, such as one where they were able to push the map out of the exhaust of the tailpipe of the car, which makes you wonder how on earth it got up there in the first place. Another idea was that all the cars were operated by monkeys, and a monkey would come out of the car and present the map in that way. The team even theorised a situation where Lightning McQueen lays a map on the ground and says, "Hey Sally, I got a new map book. Open it up to page 4. And because she's unable to do so, due to them being cars, they simply stare at it for like 150 years, and then they're left to basically rot. So, I know what you're asking, what's the solution here? What did the team come up with at the end of the day in order for Lightning McQueen to show the map to Sally? So, one forward-thinking designer looked back at the script, looked at exactly what it said, and then realised they don't actually have to show a map on screen. This could basically just be Lightning McQueen saying it. You know, saying that it's back on the map. There doesn't actually need to be a map there. So, they didn't have one.
I hear this place is back on the map.
Really? Oh, well, there goes the town.
Okay, so what should have played just then was a clip of the movie showing exactly how that played out. But if it wasn't there, then you know for a fact that Disney have decided to claim it and it's been cut from the video. So, just letting you know if there's a weird cut there. So, all of that work, and what did it lead us to? A lot of entertainment, but no dice. If you liked the video, be sure to like and subscribe. If you want to be notified as soon as I upload my next video, be sure to hit the bell button. And if you've got any ideas for what topics you'd like me to discuss next, let me know down in the comments below. As always, sources used in the video will be in the description. When researching this topic, I actually had a look into the other movies where potentially they had to do something like this, where they had to basically create new rules for the world. And yes, whilst there's a few examples, I completely forgot that the movie Planes was even a thing. For those of you that don't know, this was pretty much a straight-to-DVD release of a movie which was basically a spin-off of Cars, but to do with planes. They even made 2 movies out of this. And honestly, it just goes to show that you can pretty much make a movie out of anything these days. And yes, apparently the first Planes movie did have some form of a theatrical release, but it certainly wasn't anything compared to our lovely film like Cars. Look, if you've got questions as to how the cars were able to pick items up in the world of Cars, you're going to be scratching your head over how Planes are able to do that. So I'm going to leave that one with you. I'll see you guys in the next video. Fantastic.